So here on turn 9, 8 more Guptas have to slide down the drain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll leave Bhutan instead of Assam. They're just not going to score many points from now on, obviously, with no growth and one dude in the mountains. But, you know, they'll do what they can. Try to keep him alive. Okay, so here we are at the end of turn 9, and we got a few points that showed up. The Marathas picked up a point for Raj. The Rajputs also got a point for Raj, although you'll see they've gotten a lot smaller. The Muslims almost getting to the point, but I don't know if they can get it. They didn't reach it anyhow. Yeah, they're eligible for Raj points. But they didn't quite get it. They maybe instead of going quite so aggressively on violence, well, if they had taken higher risks, they could have come closer. But they came to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces. They would have needed 2 more. They went with a lot of 2-to-1 attacks. One thing that you see though, the Rajputs not only got Raj, but they get 2 points each for Muslim armies that they destroy at any time. So they're going to be sitting there with 5 victory points for the turn, which is kind of a decent amount actually, given that they're kind of in decline over there. And let's move up to turn 10. Well, I forgot to note that the Chola picked up some victory points on this turn. They got 4 additional points. So, because a number of people got points, let's look at where we're sitting. Green, which is not on the map right now, is stuck at 12. Blue, the Muslims and Maratha have gotten themselves up to 24. Yellow's still kind of stuck at 63. They're not really going anywhere until this next victory point turn. And even then, they're not going to gain much. But the purples got 4 points. That gives them up to 29 off the Chola. And, you know, I still don't know. Did the yellow get enough points? In Britannia, Rome has a similar situation where they grab all the victory points early in the game, or all their victory points pretty much early in the game. And we have the same kind of situation with yellow here. So, you know, until I play it a few more times, I can't really tell. When I play Britannia, usually green wins, which is kind of surprising because the wisdom in bidding is for green to actually be one of the less favored sides. Red is one of the favored sides in Britannia, and frankly, I have never seen red win a game that I've been in. I've seen purple win, I've seen blue win, I've seen green win. I have never seen red win. I've never seen them do well. Whether I'm playing them or someone else is, including people who have been to the WBG, blah, 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 and placed rather well in Britannia. Just haven't seen it. Okay, so I may have this horrible influence on most games of Britannia, or it could just be that not only am I a bad influence on the game, but there may also be other bad influences. I would doubt that, though, given some of the groups that we've had playing it. Alright, turn 10 is a victory point turn, so again, it's more important than most of the turns. What comes here that's kind of cool? Well, among other things, the Cholas can no longer have population growth. This game suffers that, has more countries suffering that effect than I think any of the other of the family that I've seen. I'm not positive, certainly more than Britannia. Okay, so the Cholas have that. We've got a Muslim major invasion, which means 2 turns in a row, with a leader. We've got votes for a number of countries. And what else? We've got a new culture. The Mughals are showing up. And we'll see how they do. So as I mentioned, the Muslims had a major invasion, and they swept through just about everything. They missed a couple of locations. One thing that they did, though, was they attacked here. That was leaving the Rajputs at only 2 areas. The Rajputs submitted, and that means that the Muslims can count them for Raj points, but they don't count for regular victory points, unlike some of the other games where submission works. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That will give them Maharaja at 2 points. So like I said, this was a victory point turn, and I calculated out victory points. Let's move it to 11. For totals, this included, say, the 4 points that the Rajputs got for killing Muslims. Green's at 16. Doesn't sound good at all. But what do they have coming? Mughals and Portuguese. Mughals are going to be big. Portuguese are not the British. Let's put it that way. Blue, 57 points. They're making their run. This is their big rich time, because afterwards they get the Afghans and French. The French might be pretty good at a while, but for a short while. But the Muslims are their big money maker on this one. Yellow managed to shoot their way up to 70, mainly off the Sinhalese, who pulled, 6 points off of these two territories. And of course the Guptas are worth 1. And then finally purple, who got 8 points, bringing them up to 37. A couple points off the Rajputs, and some points off the remainder of the Chola. They're hoping to score their big points off the Brits. That's going to be their major culture. Okay, so here we are on turn 11, and there's a couple interesting things that are happening on this turn. First of all, the Mughals under Timur come in, or Tamerlane, and they just have a normal attack, no major invasion or anything, but they get a special victory point phase, and then Timur and 2 armies disappear, but they get victory points in there, which is kind of cool. They want to basically get Delhi. That's it. And we also have the Portuguese, the first of the European powers beginning to show up. Yep, we're that late. They have a few special rules, which I think I kind of brushed upon in the early part. They have factories, which they can get placed in any coastal area running basically from here up to here, and also on Ceylon. But they can only place it where there's a native army in control, and they have to have the native army's agreement. So if they had Mughals there, it would be pretty easy to get the Mughals to agree to the Portuguese, because they're the same side. But anyone else, you have to specifically get that country to agree, which might require forcing a submission. And there aren't a lot of countries that look open to be forced into submission. What are the advantages of a factory? Well, for the Portuguese, the biggest advantage is they give victory points each turn for each of their factories, and for having factories on each coast. So they want to get their, I guess they have 3 factories, spread out on the 3 different coasts as quickly as possible. On the other hand, maybe it's worth having 2 on one coast to get that extra victory point a turn instead of waiting, to have more turns with victory points. Hard to tell. Okay, any country that, or any culture that has a factory in it, any one can be granted armaments, assuming that the Portuguese own a territory of their own on the map. And that gives them a bonus in combat with that one army, I think. Anyway. The other advantage going to the European countries is that they move 3 areas, and those can be sea areas. But they're still stopped by the highland areas. That's about it. We'll play this out. The Portuguese aren't the most powerful, obviously, of the European powers, especially at this point. But they're the first on the scene. So I played the Marathas. They're the first to go out of what's left. And we'll see. They pushed this way. The reason for that is, as the game goes on, they want to move north, and the Muslims want to swing south. And there's actually some conflict between the two in terms of desired locations on turn 13. But after that, it switches. You know, I mean, we've had the Marathas in the south all along. We've had the Muslims in the north. Well, they're going to want to kind of wheel around each other. So I'm beginning that process. And this is one of those things when I first played, I think I was playing blue, and the only time I played, and I didn't realize that and didn't really look at my cards too carefully. And it was very shocking to see that, you know, my two countries want to displace each other. So this time I was aware of the possibility and have been looking at the cards more carefully. So the Muslims have completed their swing as well. I think I may have screwed up some of the movement because it's hard to tell the different pieces from each other in this game for me. I find Britannia actually easier. I'm not sure why. Okay, so, but what the Muslims also did was they wiped out the last of the Guptas, and they're now bagged. And the last of the Rajputans were up here, and they're going to be bagged, but they picked up 2 victory points for killing a Muslim at that point. And, you know, bagging or finishing off a culture is really, to me, a big advantage because it prevents that player from getting any more points off that country. So it's something I try to do unless there's good reason not to. And certainly yellow, I think, is doing quite well and needed to get hit. Purple's doing okay. I may have been able to position a little better for production for the next turn, but it seems worth doing. And the Muslims get a point for Raj points as well. Well, the Mughals just went, and they swept in. They got their bonus in Delhi, which is 4 victory points, shoots them up to a 20. And they're positioning themselves so that they can expand this way. So, you know, they're kind of part of this whole wheeling process. They're not fighting against it. They come after the Muslims, so they're able to move. But one thing they were able to do was move into Baluchistan. And that means since it's the Portuguese turn, the Portuguese are going to cut a deal and put a factory there. Now, a factory is kind of like an army in that it helps defend as well. So that's kind of a bonus there. And it can't actually be destroyed unless either the defending units submit or they're destroyed. And the Portuguese can also sail. Now, here's what's weird. What do they want to do? They get bonuses for killing Muslims. Taking Kerala is worthwhile. And let's see, 1, 2, 3. They're going to try to take Orissa as well. Because if they win that, they end up getting the extra points for having a factory on every coast, as well. And we can just put one here. They're able to put them in their own areas, as well, I believe, as well as having killed a Muslim unit, which gives them extra victory points. So I looked up the rules again, and yes, the Portuguese can put factories in their own area, and they give the armaments to the Mughals as a whole. So all Mughal armies now have Western weaponry. What does Western weaponry mean? Well, we're going to see the advantage of it here, where the Portuguese get a +1 to their dial. And well, with a 6 it didn't make a difference, but they kill a Muslim, which they can put up here, and then they can put a factory, and they'll be collecting points every turn as long as those factories are on the board. And here, as we move into the 12th turn, let's take a quick look at the victory points. See the Portuguese in green has jumped up to 28 from 16 at the beginning of the turn. So some of that's the 4-point bonus for the Mughals, but some of it is just this reoccurring. I mean, we're going to be seeing 6 points, 8 points, whatever, from the Portuguese every turn until somebody does something about it. Blue got their Raja points, 58. Yellow's got 70. They don't have much more to get points off of. They have the Dutch, who I do not believe are very heavily invested here historically. I think they stayed in Ceylon. And purple's at 39. Still a lot of space between the lead and the back. I don't like that factor of this game. In Britannia, yes, there's this big 40-point jump at the beginning with Rome, but after that, a lot of points go to other people. The Romans have trouble. The purple player has trouble grabbing points early on afterwards, and so there's sort of this more of an evening out. Yes, they have this big jump, but here, yellow's got like the vast majority of their points. The vast majority. I mean, 50% more than what you'd see with Rome easily. Sitting in that early half of the game. And whatever else they get, it's going to be tough to, I guess, if they're doing really well and you know that they are, you can go wipe out the Sinhalese or something. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this and send it up.